Hello, welcome to Romero Threads on YouTube, where it's all about embroidery. In today's video, I want to talk about how much does it cost to embroider a hat. And specifically, I'm talking about 3D puff, which is one of our most popular type of hats. So today, I want to kind of break it down, every little small detail of what it costs to embroider a hat. Because sometimes customers or just people in general, they think that all you have to do really is pay for your blank hat and that's the only expense. All right, there's a lot of small little detailed expenses that sometimes might be overlooked. I really made a list of everything that we have to have on hand to create, okay, from the creation all the way to the delivery. It's not just a matter of total sale minus the cost of a blank. There's more details, and when we talk about the consumables, there's also very cheap consumables and your more expensive consumables. Today I want to go into the details with the vendors. Let's go into the websites that I use. This first one that I have here, this is SNS Activewear. This is pretty much all your blanks. If you're an embroidery shop, most likely you already have an account. They pretty much have everything organized by the brands. Now here, this is the website when I'm not logged in. So this is kind of what our customers see. They see the retail price. This is FlexFit here. This is the brand that we like to use. And here, there's so many choices. For an example, this one here, okay, this is one of my favorite ones. This is adjustable 110. This is the hat that I'm wearing right now. So you can see here, the retail price is $13.90. This is our starting point. This is like expense number one. Is your blank. How much does it cost? Usually from $5, $10. That's usually the cost of a blank. And within the past year, the prices of hats have gone up and they're going to continue going up. And if you haven't raised your prices like in 3-4 years, all right, you're probably underselling and you got to recalculate your prices, all right, because everything has gone up, especially hats. So just to be on the safe side, we're going to say a hat can cost you anywhere between $5 to $10. $5 being super cheap hat, $10 being a more expensive type hat. Of course, there are more expensive hats. Like if you go to Adidas, Nike's, Champion, you might have to pay even more branded type prices. Now, my personal suggestion is don't try to save $1 or $2 by buying these very cheap hats, because I've had bad experience trying to save $1 or $2 buying some of the cheap hats, and you know which brands I'm talking about. And for the most part, if you're selling it to a customer that really knows about hats, like you could just feel a cheap hat. Now let's start getting into our consumables, all right, because these are really the ones that's gonna start adding to our expenses. I'm gonna show you AllStitch. One thing about when you're buying your consumables, okay, what I like to do at the beginning of the year, I want to forecast and try to purchase as much consumables for this year. And one key note here is that consumables, they cost money. So a lot of times people might say, I don't really account for my needles or my thread because it's so minimum. But believe it or not, we spend like thousands of bucks on consumables a year. Because when you do the math at the end of the year, you'll see that you spent a lot of money on consumables. And the reason why I like to buy everything at the beginning of the year, a lot of these companies, they have free shipping when you spend X amount of dollars. You want to purchase everything all in one shot, so you're not paying for shipping every time you're buying one or two. Something very important with hats, of course, you need tearaway. Here, you could filter and look for what you want. All right, you could get the pre-cut sheets. All right, so of course 3 ounce. This one here, you could choose what size you want. All right, I like to get the 4x12 because I use a Gen 2. The Gen 2 is able to grip this 4x12 in 3 locations. The 4x12, it costs $18.47. And if you go 4x8, all right, the price goes down, $12.86. You do have options. If you want to save $1 or $2, you could. There are ways to save money. I prefer getting the longer ones. Makes our hooping a whole lot cleaner and it gives you more space to work with. We're looking at 1847, and at the very end I'm going to break up these numbers so it can make a whole lot more sense and we can break it down per piece. Okay, something else that we need when we're doing hats, okay, is 3D puff, and this website here, Gnold. Also, if you're creating hats, if you're making hats and you're an embroidery shop, Gnold, very good company to work with. Same thing here. It says free shipping on orders 150 plus. All right, you do want to use good quality foam. It's a foam specifically made for this type of work. 3D foam, 12 by 18, dense black. Let's say we're getting dense black. All right, you can see it's $5.10 here. Compared to just your regular 3D foam, like your everyday 3 millimeters, 12 by 18. All right, the price is $2.55. So it's double for dense. All right, so you can see where prices start fluctuating. Now, sometimes it makes sense to cut corners. Sometimes there's designs that don't really require certain products. What I like to do, I like to buy like the best materials, all right? Because at the very end, it just makes your designs look a whole lot better, all right? For example, 3D Puff looks a whole lot better when you have dense foam. On AllStitch, pre-wound bobbins, of course you need bobbins. We use L style. If you have an embroidery machine, you're using L style. I want white. And bobbin style, this is where you can make a choice. You can pay $22, $22.28 just for regular sideless bobbins, which work good, okay? Or what we like to use, the magnetic bobbins, all right? So you can see $48 for 100 versus for 144, half the price. That's that they're on discount right now, all right? Usually they cost $60. And one thing here, Gingher, they have their own magnetic bobbins too, all right? So if you want to check that out, $33. Another consumable expense that we have here is of course our thread, okay? So here on AllStitch, we have the Madeira, and here you can either go, when you go Madeira, you can either go 1100, the smaller cones, or the regular cones, so 5,500. And within a year of this video, the prices might definitely change, all right? So as of right now, it's at about $9. All right, so we'll put $9 for thread. It might not seem a lot, okay? Thread might not seem a lot, but when you start collecting colors, when you start multiplying your colors, all right, you're gonna be paying in the hundreds, okay? For us, black, blue, gold, navy, those are our big colors there. And another website that I wanna show you, United Thread, okay? They have a very outdated website, but they are very, very good with products, especially with cutaway and needles. They got good stuff, all right? Actually, let's talk about needles. We definitely need needles, and we need specific type of needles. The reason why I like United Threads, they have different brands, and I like to use the Groz Beckerts. All right, so you got your options here. Okay, of course you have your 65s, your 70s, your 75s, your 80s, and your 90s. Since we're doing hats, 80-12 sharp, $20 for 100. Or we could just get the 75-11 sharp. So here in Gingher, the way they have them listed, okay, you could go to needles, you go to titanium. So here they got the titaniums. And what I highly recommend is to have different vendors, because sometimes a vendor might be sold out on certain items. And then you really got to anticipate, because you don't want to be purchasing something that you need. It's crunch time and they don't have it available. Because there's been time, and even recently, all right, recently when we're looking for a specific type of consumables that we're used to and it's not available, then you got to wait, or now you got to go to different types of consumables, all right? So that happens. Best thing to take care of that is just anticipating on what you need. So here I kind of made a quick Google Sheet form to kind of break down what we just looked at. This is just kind of like a quick rundown. Of course, if you were to be doing your numbers might be a little different. Now, this is the big thing that I want to show you here. What's affecting these numbers right here is that we're only selling one hat in this example. You're going to quickly see that selling one hat just by itself, sometimes it doesn't make sense. It does make sense if you have everything ready to go. If you've already done this job and you're just doing reprints, then it does make sense. But if you're starting from scratch, okay, which I'll show you right here, kind of how it affects the prices. I have a list of all the items that go into creating a hat. So these top ones are the ones we just talked about. So we have the cost of a hat, of a blank, the needles, tearaway, foam, bobbins, thread. Okay, the ones I haven't really talked about, digitizing. So let's say you send out the artwork to a digitizer. These prices can be different. All right, but let's say your digitizer charges you $25. All right, and then I put a shipping fee here because if you only buy one hat, you're gonna pay shipping for that. Really, you gotta buy hats by the dozens if you want to save on shipping. So if you're only buying one hat, you're paying for shipping. All right, that's why I put 10 bucks here. And then labor, you gotta pay somebody to create the hat. So if that's you, this is a charge that you're selling to actually produce the hat. Here I'm just charging $50 per hour, and I'm gonna say we're making 2 hats an hour. Your numbers are gonna be different, all right? This is just a random hypothetical scenario. Here I have 2 columns, 2 different ways to see this pricing. On this first one that I have highlighted, this is the cost. This is how much it would cost if you're making one hat and you got to buy everything. You don't have any of these consumables ready to go, and you have to purchase everything all in one shot. All right, this is how much it would cost. Now, this is where I want to show you that in embroidery, pricing makes sense when you're doing multiple orders. If you're only to sell one hat, it's going to cost you 172 bucks. You're not going to make any of that money back unless you charge some super high price for this item. Now, if you break it down, cost per hat, now you're breaking down the consumable down to the smallest common denominator. In that situation, your needles, right, it costs about like 20 cents. Your bobbins, a dime, 10 cents. This is where it seems small. This is where it seems like your consumables, it's nothing. This pricing here, it makes sense. Once you start going on the high volume, then it makes sense. But if you were to price it this way, it's still showing for one hat, $70.56. What's really getting you here is the digitizing, the shipping, and the labor. Just that alone is 60 bucks. But here, your consumables is showing $1.56. There's different perspective and how to see your profit or your total sales and your expenses. I for sure know when you're buying consumables, you're buying everything all in one shot. You do got to take the total cost into account. You have to know how much you spent and how many hats do you have to sell and how to make up for all that consumable expenses. Really, where you could start bringing down the price is once your quantities start going up, okay? Once you start selling more hats, now your prices could go down. I do want to make another video where I actually break down what is the cost of 24 hats, okay? Because once we start getting into that quantity, now our numbers make a whole lot more sense, okay? Now we're starting to look into actual pricing. But as you can see here, sometimes if you're only selling one hat and you're starting from scratch, your prices are going to be very high. So this here is the true cost of creating one hat. Pretty pricey. We are going to continue this topic on embroidery pricing. If you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to add to this discussion, leave it down below in the comments. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.